Have you ever wondered how hip hop began? In today's conversation, we want you to know why the narratives of hip hop are continually perpetuated. I watched Caffrey's TED Talk. He mentions that three companies own 90% of our culture and 75% of hip hop is bought by white men. Caffrey will unpack this. We are so excited to have you here today. This conversation is going to cause us to change our view and ways of thinking on hip hop. I'm looking forward to you all meeting my guest and my co host today. We value your feedback and opinions. Please drop them in the chat. We intend to respond to as many as possible. Your comments are dear to us. This takes a great deal of effort to pull off, and so I'm eternally grateful to all my guests. Every week, we create new content, and we look forward to you subscribing to our YouTube channel and to keep up with us. My name is Rochelle Carrier, and I'm a DEI consultant and authoress of Emotional Intelligence, a toolkit for managing DEI in the workplace. The link to purchase the ebook will be in the comments. And for a living, I help thought provoking leaders implement DEI plans and reframe their mindsets through provoking workshops and webinars. Join us as we continue to share the different voices in the DEI space. Today, we welcome my co host Tammy Triolo and Caffrey J, and we will let them uniquely introduce themselves. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, Tammy and Caffrey. Tammy, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the audience.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I thought it was morning. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tammy Triolo. I am the founder of PCQ Consulting, and what I do is help companies create amazing cultures, and I also help them with DEI strategies. Thank you so much, Rochelle, for letting me be your co-host today.
Oh, it's so wonderful to always have you. And Caffrey, if you can introduce yourself in your unique way to the audience.
Yes, I'd be honored. Thank you so much for having me. Shout out, Tammy. Good to see you again. I'm Coffee J, founder and executive director of Hip Hop for Change, the nation's largest hip hop education nonprofit. I've dedicated my life to trying to lift my community and my people up. I'm from San Francisco, Hunters Point, spotted that ain't on the tourist map. And I know how uniquely impactful hip hop was on my ascension to becoming an organizer and understanding my inner strength and power. And yeah, I want that for our youth. And I feel like if we do not take back our culture, then how can we support our youth who are of that culture? So that's what I've dedicated my life to. And I'm just happy to be here rocking with y'all. So thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
it's such a pleasure. Thank you. We were talking backstage. I watched your TED Talk, which I loved so much. And right, Tammy, it was really
Yeah, so
impactful.
good.
It was really impactful because there's a lot of information that needs to be told so that people are well informed
Mhm.
of how hip hop began and how it presents itself to others and how important it is for us. So you mentioned in your TED Talk, Caffrey, that you said, you know what? I'll let you take it away. I'll let you take it away.
I got you, yo. So, I mean, a lot of times people think that hip hop in the media is reflective of the Black community's narratives, right?
Hmm.
And I just throw out like no representation of Black culture in the media is really on point, and nor has it ever really been. We don't have enough money as a people to dictate how white media depicts us. You know what I'm saying? So when I learned things like three companies own 90% of the depiction of hip hop, the platform and the means of producing it, it makes a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? When you learn about the audience and the consumer base of hip hop being 75% suburban white males between 18 and 24, we understand instantly and immediately why we only get certain types of imagery of Black women when it comes to rapping, right? Because I don't think that suburban white men necessarily want to hear women, Black women, especially talking about their lives mattering. But I think the problem is that we have to deal with these stereotypes and this criminalization in every social interaction we're in. That's why I said in my TED talk, talk about the lady grabbing her baby, and I say I don't eat babies, I'm full. I mean that happened. I'm in New York today. I'm coming down to my hotel room, and the door opens, and this family, they get ready to walk in. They go, oh, no. I said I don't bite, and then the door's closed. And I kind of wanted to, wait till we got downstairs and be like, hey, sir, you just like that's the vehicle that makes your children afraid of black people. And you got to be very careful about how you enact your bias in front of your children, because you might be racist, but you don't want your kids to be that way, right? And where does that come from? I think another crazy statistic is that 70% of white people in America do not have a single person of color for a friend.
Yeah.
Let alone like a hood black dude like me, you know what I'm saying? So, that doesn't mean they don't have empowered white opinions any longer. They still have those, but those are informed by media representations.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at how young black and brown, kids from urban communities are treated and segregated and criminalized, that vehicle is through mainstream hip hop.
Yeah.
And that hurts my feelings.
Right. Absolutely. You
Are
know
you
how
gonna cry?
absolutely.
I need to. I'm a little traumatized. Sometimes it don't happen, but yeah, I could.
Yeah. No, I totally get that, and I think you just said something, but I don't know that he doesn't want his child to be racist, though. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think racism is perpetuated because it's what the reason why racism still is around, because it is passed down like family traditions, right? And so a lot of times white parents aren't explicitly saying to their children ugly things about black people, but it's in those little acts that they're messaging to them that they're different than blacks, that they're better than blacks. And so I just think the vehicle by which white people tell their children we are less than them is not so overt. They're not calling us N-words in the house. Some of them, maybe not. They're not doing that, but they're doing it in those little microaggressions that you just talked about, right? It's telling from a very young age, saying the little black girl on the playground instead of the little girl with the red bows or the pink bows. It's calling out race, even that young. And so I just think, I don't know that he doesn't want his children to be racist. I just think he doesn't want them to be violently racist, but passive racism, I think, still sells and still perpetuates in America.
Yeah. I definitely think that in some cases, and probably he's talked to his kid about racism before and be like, racism is when you feel bad about a whole people and you're like, black people are bad. If we don't get rid of that definition of racism, I think that racism is so thoroughly spread because that's the easy definition for racist people. It's like, oh, I don't hate all black people. I don't call them the N-word, so I must not be. But yeah, I think, my niece, she was in a white school and she thought her skin was burnt. And that made me cry. That literally broke my heart to see this 4 or 5-year-old girl, you know what I'm saying, experiencing this and not understanding why her skin is burnt and what happened to her. You know what I'm saying? That broke my heart. And so hopefully that kid will meet some black people, have some black friends, maybe have a black, girlfriend and bring her home and look who's coming to dinner. And then, we'll have to get over that stuff. But yeah, I think that the separation and the ease with which racism is passed down.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be for a while. We don't even have the Supreme Court on our side right now. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think that, mainly for the audience, do you think that hip hop is segregated?
So when we talk about hip hop, we have to talk about the hip hop industry, and then we have to talk about the hip hop culture, right? As far as the culture, hip hop's been the most diverse cultural expressive form the world has ever created, hands down. They're rapping in Mumbai, Glasgow, they're rapping in Japan. You know what I'm saying? I dare you to challenge South Korea to a breakdancing competition, like what I'm saying? This is not a problem that we have in the streets. Because in the streets, it's your skill set. It's your ability to rocket your craft that really makes you like say something to Eminem. I dare you to say something to Eminem to a white dude who came up in the Detroit battle rap scene. Good luck. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that hip hop has had this problem. I do think that black people still hold the cards. You know what I'm saying? We invented it. You know what I'm saying? But I think in mainstream media, we look at who's winning Grammys, right?
Yeah.
For hip hop, right? We talk about segregation, we talk about white powers and all this other stuff. Like a white rapper is going to have immediate support, immediate support from white America. They're like, oh, we got one, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, Macklemore wins best rapper.
Yeah.
And so that's how we know that that is not the culture right there, because the culture would have put 85 million albums on point before they put Macklemore's album on. That's
Yeah.
not, no shade to him, you know, he's a good rapper, he's a good artist. He's not a great rapper, he's not a
Right.
great
No,
artist.
agreed.
So when we look at the media, it's like I almost don't even really want to pay that no mind. You know what I'm saying? They can. If people say, "Are you trying to change the industry?" No, they can keep that. You know what I'm saying? And they're gonna do that anyway. And you know, there's suburban, you know, white kids who are buying this horrible, you know, fictitious gangster rap. They're gonna do what they do. They always want to rock out to narratives like that. My biggest goal is to make sure that as a culture, we own the means of production so we can start putting our best narratives out there. Because I want my young daughter to see the entire spectrum of women artists, so she can choose who she like to be. She's 3. She's already starting to rap. You know what I'm saying? So I'd like her to have a little bit more than just Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, and Meg Thee Stallion. You know what I'm saying? I like to see Rhapsody and No Name in there, Cy Rock, and some other people talking about, you know, the worth of a woman in this society and what women have to deal with. I think those type of narratives are so important for us to just have. And the ideas that are going around our communities are the confines that our kids dream inside of.
Right.
So you think
Right.
of 3 white corporations owning the confines with which our kids dream of, and the confines with which our societies think about our kids. Woo, that's scary.
Right.
That's
And it's
How
interesting.
do we promote more independent artists, right? Like it's almost like you have to go looking for these people because to your point, they're not in the mainstream. They're not the people on the radio. They're not even the people that it's primarily why I really like TikTok, because you get to meet artists there rapping about stuff that you're not going to hear on the radio. Nobody's putting that out. And it's very conscious rap. It's conscious hip hop.
Yeah.
How do we support more independent artists who are not going to get radio play
So
for their music?
I got a radio show that I do on KPOO San Francisco 89.5 every Sunday, 3-hour block. Yeah, this last Sunday I played 2.5 hours of local Bay Area women artists. I was just like, I just accidentally started doing it. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna keep this women thing going for the next 2 hours. Y'all tune in. And halfway through, I was just like, yo, there's so many people that are like, hip hop is bad, hip hop is this, and hip hop is that. And I'm like, yo, have you been to a local concert? Like, have you bought a $10 ticket? I mean, or do you just buy the $180 Beyonce ticket? You know, when she came out here, because I go to 18 shows for that much money and see some of the dopest narratives. I love Beyonce. Don't get me wrong. I don't want the bad.
I'm about to say you don't want the beehive to get you. You don't want the beehive to get you.
You know what I'm saying? But I think that's it. I think that, you know, hip hop is a culture. You know, you have to engage in that. Carnival is a culture. You have to go to that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like Halloween, that's culture. You got to go to that, dress up. Like, it's about investment. I invest in hip hop because I love hip hop. And I don't want to just get spoon fed this crappy hip hop online. I like to engage in hip hop. So I like to go to b-boy competitions, and I like to, you know, go to these graffiti art mural festivals and things like that. I put my money into Black businesses. These are conscious choices, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes I get pissed. I'm like, yo, people got to stop hating on my culture if they ain't going to see people. They ain't bought no CDs this year for some local artists that they took the time to search out. You know, and I'll give you a couple names. Cy Rock, SA space ROC, The Goddess. Another one, Ryan Nicole. Amazing artist, Aaliyah, ALIA Sharif, SHARIF. You know, these are all artists out there. If you put them on your YouTube, new artists will stop popping up through the algorithms and say, oh, I think they like local hip hop. So I understand, and I think it's okay to complain. I think it's okay to be angry, upset, to vent, to be frustrated. And I also don't want to say, you know, Black people have to do anything because of this oppression. I don't like to do that. I'm not going to tell people to get vaccinated either, even though I'm a staunch advocate and I'm super boosted. But I would hope that if people do not like the hip hop industry, that conversely they're lifting up the hip hop culture and community by at least buying a couple albums every year, at least going to a couple shows in your city. That's how we get people on. Because these artists that I grew up with and came up with, they are struggling. I went to 38 states rapping, and I'm still broke. You know what I'm saying? I did that out of love. You know what I'm saying? Off the strength. But if people had access to my narratives, maybe I wouldn't have to struggle so hard while doing it. So there's artists out there, they're hungry, they deserve your money. They need that money to keep creating narratives. And if they keep creating those narratives, maybe our young kids will hear it and feel those ancestral drums through that music. Because if they don't
Absolutely.
hear those drums,
Right. You know what can you say? It's interesting because I have I want to touch on something that you said about the narrative, and I think that's where, you know, and we've talked about this many times on the podcast. There are different narratives, and with rap music, people associate rap music to a negative narrative, right? And you know, in hip hop for change, in that title, it's change. So that means the music that you're creating has a different narrative.
Mhm.
Is that right?
Even our gangster rap has a different narrative. I mean,
Right.
Audre Lorde said, if you're a part of an oppressed community, the very act of telling your story is resistance. Audre Lorde didn't say you have to have a nice story. And I said this in one of my other things. My cousin sells illicit substances on the street corner. He's not rapping about roses, all right? You know what I'm saying? He's also,
Storytelling.
yeah, he's
It's
also
about
not
his story.
yeah, he's not rapping in some fake mansion with,
Right.
paid models that he's pouring liquor on and objectifying. Like, he's rapping his story, and that's fine with me. You know what I'm saying? So when I talk about hip hop for change, I talk about making sure that hip hop is accessible to anybody who wants to tell their story. And there's only one rule in hip hop. It's like, keep it real. So, I remember when we controlled our culture, if somebody was faking the funk, so to speak, they would be excommunicated very fast, kind of like Milli Vanilli, you know what I'm saying? But now, all these artists in the industry, they're all lying and wearing fake gold jewelries and whatnot, and we have no power to uphold our cultural norms, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's just it. It's like, I think the change that we're trying to make is to put the means of production back in the hands of the community. Now, with our studio, as long as you're not oppressing anybody, you know what I'm saying? We're not going to have people coming to our studios getting free studio time, rapping about selling drugs to the community. So I don't want to say that we're gonna uphold that because we've got enough of that. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to invalidate those people with those narratives. We talk about these kids that are rapping about killing black people. I don't want to hate on those kids in Chicago unless you got an alternative $100,000 deal for them to get their mama out the projects that are dangerous and disgusting. So I do not want to devalue these kids first and foremost that are struggling to try to make it within colonialism and white genocide. You know what I'm saying? So let's not do that. I don't want to otherize our kids anymore. But I just see those kids as kids that haven't heard the real power of hip hop yet. You know what I'm saying? I used to gangbang every day. I used to rob people. I used to, not know how to deal with my toxic masculinity or what masculinity was even for. But what helped me out is hearing some real hip hop for the first time. It blew my mind when I heard Black Star, Mos Def, and Talib Kweli. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And that changed me overnight. So yeah, we are trying to create hip hop for change, but I think the change is the systemic change. I can care less. I don't really tell kids what to say in my class, but I do think there's this negative connotation. So I ask people all the time, have you seen a room full of second graders trying to rap battle? And when I ask them that, everybody's like, oh, that must be so cute. They don't think, oh, rapping is negative. These kids must be rapping about killing people and smacking up women. And I usually, I teach K through 12, but I ask, have you seen a room full of second graders do that? Because when I ask that, even most white folks, they're like, oh, that must be so cute. Because they don't assign that pathology to that space like they would if I said, hey, I teach a room full of high schoolers to rap. They're like, oh, what are they rapping about? You know what I'm saying? So, I kind of
about life. High schoolers have life too. Like life is happening to all of us.
All of us. And when we get in these classes and we do this 8-bar prompt for these kids, they're rapping about the most empowering things. You know what I'm saying? It's just a beautiful thing. So I think the more and more we can own our culture, the less and less people are going to ascribe pure pathology to what we do. Because hip hop is poetry that has a fealty to a 4/4 time signature predominantly. And that's it. And a lot of people, they might not like poetry, but they don't say, oh, I could never do poetry. You know what I'm saying? But when people look at my culture, like, oh, I could never rap. And that's because people assume to rap, you have to grab your genitals, you have to slouch, you have to think bad about women, and you have to think I'm the hottest stuff since sliced bread. And if I can't embody that space, I don't get to be a rapper. And I'm like, who taught you that was my culture, homie? You know what I'm saying? That's not who we are. That's not where we come from. You know what I'm saying? So we really have to take this game back to where people understand this is an art form. You know,
Yeah.
it's an art form that all our kids are primed for in the hood. And I was talking to Dr. Jackson, the new president of the NEA. And, you know, I used to minor in ceramic sculpture. I love sculpture, but sculpture is not going to save kids in the hood. You know what I'm saying? They're in band class teaching these kids William Tell's Overture, acting like, why are they not falling in love with music? You know what I'm saying? Like, Baroque hymnals is going to get these young kids from the hood. Okay, cool. When we think about helping kids, we're not thinking of kids. We're thinking of kids that look like me. We're thinking of hip hop kids, right? So why are we talking about art? Why are we talking about hip hop? You know, I dressed down this PTA from School of the Arts in San Francisco. I'm like, why aren't there turntables in band class? It's 2022, and you are teaching these kids Baroque hymnals and get mad when they don't want to sit there in band class. What's going on? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we also do a D&I class, course for companies that is rooted in the story of hip hop. Because when you talk about hip hop and you teach that, people get real mad why we don't own our culture and what's going on with the powers that be. And I don't even really have to talk about capitalism or white supremacy. You just have to tell the story of hip hop. And people are like, why are these corporations owning these people's narrative? They get really mad, real easy, because they kind of understand that when they take it out of that kind of tumultuous conversation of race, white supremacy, and capitalism. You just talk about the human experience of Black people trying to have voices. Anyone can identify with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hip hop is poetry. It is such when I was growing up, I used to do now I understand it as slam poetry, but back in the islands we just call it the spoken word poetry. So we would just get up on stage and perform. And I think now I probably, you know, if you put what I was talking about to music, it could be a complete rap. It is poetry. And I think the ability to story tell is it's such a gift. And I don't think we honor that enough in our society, but storytelling, you will take that same kid who can rap and story tell, you drop that kid in a marketing firm and they create a marketing that's basically just storytelling. That's what hip hop and rap is. It's storytelling. It's taking you through an experience. That's what marketing is. Marketing is about grabbing your attention, then walking you through an experience of what this product is. It's no different with hip hop, I would say.
And also, like, you know, I wouldn't hire somebody as a graphic designer unless they knew how to do graffiti. Like, I just wouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? And we could go down to, you know, these dance classes and they have urban dance.
Yeah,
like, ooh,
right.
Sanitize, whitewash that blackness out of your dance company, right? But no, they're doing hip hop. You know what I'm saying? They're doing hip hop. And so it's really important to understand how ubiquitous the culture of hip hop has become. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're playing trap music, you know, when MSNBC goes to commercial now. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, is it? I think it's Ari. Is it Ari?
Ari Melbourne.
Ari Melba. Like, I think
Ari Melbourne. I want to call that Friday. I try to hit him up. He has not responded back to me. So if anybody knows Ari Melbourne, you tell him to hit me up. All right. You know, he owes hip hop a change at least 5 minutes on a segment now, brother.
Yeah, he does. He does. Anybody knows Ari Melba? Tag him.
Tag him. Tell him I need to holler at that homie. But yeah, you know, hip hop.
For the audience, can you let them know who he is?
Ari Melbourne, MSNBC. Yeah.
He's a maker for MSNBC.
Yeah, I think he goes on at, like, I forget, maybe like.
I think he's at like 5 or 6 o'clock.
On the West Coast, he's at 1. I think.
Okay. So yeah, if he's at you're at 1, he's between 4 and 5 o'clock here on the.
And also Tiffany Cross and Joy Reid, please.
Tiffany Cross, Joy Reid, yeah.
They don't owe me nothing, but I would love 2 queens anyway. All right. But, when we talk about hip hop, we talk about the 5 elements: breaking, rapping, graffiti art, DJing, and the 5th one being cultural knowledge. It's important. Remember, it's hip hop. It's not stupid hop, right? Hip is the knowledge. Hop is the movement of that knowledge through artistic, creative forms. You know, whether it be like my background right here, right? Basquiat, that's hip hop, right? And I think a lot of times when people think of Basquiat, they don't think of hip hop. That man is one of the greatest graffiti artists we've ever had. So we have to tell these people who we are, what we do, and everybody will
embody it.
Yeah, that's why I never put a suit on no more. I was just, you know, talking at the New York Stock Exchange with my gold grill and my white supremacy shirt with a fist up. Like, yeah, shout out to Vince Molinari for letting me do that, man. But we have to normalize our culture. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
everybody who works at Hip Hop for Change, I get a gold grill after 3 months of working with this. I had this white lady, I was talking to her. We do grassroots organizing. So we have about 50,000 conversations in white communities every year. We're built off a grassroots street team model. That's where we get about 80% of our funding. I had this white lady say, yo, I've never heard anybody speak so well wearing one of the I've never heard somebody speak so eloquently wearing one of those grills. Why do you wear that? I was like, oh my God. Now this lady's wearing a diamond necklace, diamond earrings, gold earrings, tennis bracelet. And I was like, why do you wear that? And she was like, as soon as I said that, she got it instantly. She was like, oh, she was like, oh yeah, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, so you're assigning pathology to my cultural like jewelry instead of assigning pathology to your blood diamonds. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Oh,
Ooh, ooh,
you said it.
ooh, ooh.
Yep.
And
You know, and that's just it. Because if we're going to talk about pathology and who's most responsible for it, you know, I don't think they should be sprayed at me. You know what I'm saying? We talk about a lot of people grabbing their women while they pass me. It's not men like us, you know, for the most part. If we look at FBI stats, homies, all right. But I think that's it. I think number one, I really don't. I really have no hope for white America. I really have no hope for U.S. hegemony. You know, we just lost the right for body autonomy. You know what I'm saying? And if white women can't protect Roe versus Wade, what am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do. So people ask me if I'm hopeful. I am not. I'm not a betting man, and after 400 years, I'm not betting on hope. I just can't. But what I can bet on is that I can
change.
Things are going to change. Change is constant.
Change is constant.
Hope I'm not betting on what kind of change we got coming. Change is going to come. I know change is going to come. But what I can bet on is that if I work with these young homies, they'll be able to stand on their feet a little stronger, whether they have to die or not. You know what I'm saying? I can't promise them life, but what I can do is I can show them the keys to their history, their strength, their inner value, and their power for creation. A lot of our kids don't think that they're talented until they start getting with me, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. And then they start doing something, they're like, oh, I like this, and 2 years later they're breakdancing and they're vegan and they're talking about proprioception and neuromuscular junctions and body health and wellness, and now they got 2, 3 little homies they're mentoring. That's just how it works.
Now the narrative is changing.
Yeah, right.
What I was saying.
Yeah, it's just really important. It's really important. This is how we move our ideas. You know, we move our ideas through our culture, and all our kids in the hood are primed for hip hop. Most of our suburban kids are primed for hip hop too. You know what I'm saying? And if we have these young girls and boys who are wearing three stripe Adidas, you know what I'm saying? They're wearing their hats like this and whatnot. But half of them, I say, you like hip hop? They're like, oh, I don't listen to that stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh man. That breaks my heart, you know what I'm saying? Because they can't even exalt their own culture within themselves, right? You know, they want to dress up, they want to look, they want to have be fly, but they literally think that they come from pathology.
Yeah.
And that's been a long time in this nation's history that Black and brown people have to think that we're less than. Just like my young niece thought her skin was burnt.
Yeah.
Right.
Ooh.
And it goes with the unconscious biases that some of us have within us.
Yeah.
And that we carry around with us. Mm-hmm. And how that narrative, starts really young. And I think it's important also, especially, I mean, your daughter's 3 minus 7, and she started internalizing racism at 3 years old, actually.
Yeah.
And there were so many things that were presented to me whereby I had to initiate conversation for her to be able to understand and know that that her narrative was not a narrative conducive to how we really are. And it's I had to retrain the brain with books. I get rid of all the white princess books and, Princess and the Pea and Princess Tiana and Oprah as the mom, like more Black characters, more representation. So I think it's really important, like that person who like held on to the stroller when they saw you. That's when the conversations need to begin within yourself. and within your family members,
Yeah.
because then I could have perpetuated it between all of us. I could have
Yeah.
not said anything and not addressed the narrative that she was already incurring in her little mind, and just
Yeah.
said, "Oh no, it's nothing. We're not racist." No, that's not true. That's when all the thoughts, the racist thoughts, the ideas, and the narrations begin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my daughter is Elsa now, and Frozen is her favorite in the world. It's like her face. She is Elsa. She wants me to braid her hair like
Right.
Elsa, all that stuff. And we are singing Frozen and Let It Go as loud as we can in the car. You know what I'm saying? I've been waiting for her to hold on to the song so we can start singing. And yeah, I was mortified when she liked Paw Patrol and her favorite one was the police officer dog. I was I was like, oh my god, you know. So now I'm trying to initiate those interactions with new Black creators and things like that. I mean, I remember when she said, "Oh, Daddy, a screwdriver is for boys," and I was like, "No, baby." I was like, and now she has a tool set in her room so she can start building and creating. We have to be there for these kids, but in order
Absolutely.
for us to be there, we have to understand these things and these vehicles. And I argue certain people don't have any skin in the game to have to
Yeah.
know that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So how do they see these little things and the little nicks and cuts? Where we die a death of 1,000 cuts. They don't. And I don't think that person in the elevator thought he did anything wrong, but he did. He did. His son almost came in the elevator first. He said, "No, no, no, wait." And his son was like, like I'm
Right.
like, oh, homie. And I've taught 30,000 kids K through 12. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you should give me your baby. And you know what I'm saying? You should just give me your kid. You slipping. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's the thing that we're dealing with, is that hip hop has become the largest cultural expressive form in the world. And it's just like, when you have young girls or boys, and as parents, you're like, don't go do everything you want to do. It's like, you can't even tell kids that. You just have to prepare them and set them up with the moral compass and conviction to know what's right and wrong, and hope that they do what they need to do. And most likely that kid is going to love hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Love hip hop, but he's probably still going to have the biases that he has, because he's probably going to consume hip hop through the radio, the media, or whatever. So if we can get in the way with that, with Hip Hop for Change, and build up a platform that is
Right.
almost as big as one, I want Hip Hop for Change to be one of the big four. Times, Sony, Universal, and this 501c3 Hip Hop for Change. Because when you put chili meat next to filet mignon, we barbecuing. You know what I'm saying? We cooking. So, yeah, people say, are you trying to take out the industry? No, I just need an alternative to be accessible for our youth so they can choose, if they want to hear something different, right?
Right.
Where do we have these cultural moments in hip hop, like Brenda's Got a Baby, when they reminisce of UNITY and whatnot?
Yeah.
Like, we rarely get, maybe Kendrick has one, like, we gonna be all right, you know what I'm saying? Maybe that one. But that's not even as big as the cultural moments we used to have in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? When we start having those cultural moments again, it will change the narrative in society overnight.
Yeah.
And I remember when Brenda's Got a Baby came out, and on CNN they were like, Black people care about teen pregnancy. like y'all didn't know that? Y'all didn't know that yesterday? But that's the power of hip hop. When hip hop flipped the governor's election in Florida, and Janet Reno won, you know what I'm saying? Because the other candidates started going after, Uncle Luke, and all these people trying to basically censor them. And he created this political song that flipped an entire election. And then Janet Reno was like, oh my God, we got the Black community behind us. Well, maybe try investing in this next time, like on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
Right.
hip hop's got a lot of strength and a lot of power. And I think, like KRS once said, if it has the power to destroy our communities, it has the power to save them too.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm curious to know what local artists, specifically the women that you talked about, what are they going to be talking about now with this abortion ban? Because we talked a little bit about this on the backstage, that there's two different reactions to this. One that white women are having, and one that Black women are having. And for a lot of Black women, we're just like, yeah, we've been here. Like this, like y'all are new to this party, but we've been here. Like, I don't know. I think you follow Teresa Robinson on LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah.
And she posted a post of a white woman crying, and
Oh, yes.
the black lady looking like,
Right.
right, and kind of the response to this abortion. So I'm
Yeah.
curious to know what black women, particularly in hip hop, what that rap is going to be like, what that messaging is going to be like, because same thing with Queen Latifah when she did UNNTY Unity. Like that was an anthem. Like every black woman I know, every white woman I know was like, doing Unity with Queen Latifah. So I'm curious to know what female rap artists are going to be talking about specifically around this issue.
That's a good question.
If I were to guess, it's probably going to be a lot of frustration, right?
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a lot of anger. There might even be some hope in there, but I don't know. A lot of the rappers that I follow, they're not very, very supportive of this nation, and they're not really betting people. Like I ain't no betting person, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
I don't know. I know that women in hip hop have been spitting fire since hip hop started, right? And I know particularly black women just spit fire, and they changed the trajectory of the nation's swag. You know what I'm saying? So, I think this is a beautiful kind of a moment where you see white women like, oh my God, Handmaid's Tale, oh my God, and then black women are like, you know what I'm saying? I think that's what the rap's gonna be like. It's gonna be embodying that look like child, like,
child.
What I'm saying? I think that's what it's gonna be, because I'm not surprised by this nation. I'm not the most politically expedient cat in the world. I think I'm up on some game, but when Mitch McConnell blocked Barack Obama's Supreme Court pick, I was like, Roe versus Wade is gone. You know what I'm saying? And there's no women in vagina hats that's gonna stop that. You know what I'm saying? Again, if white women can't say Roe versus Wade, I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know what queer people are gonna do for marriage equality. I have no idea.
But I don't think white women, the white women that were trying to stop it, because 54% of them in the first election
57?
voted for Trump.
54?
And then the second election, it was 57. So
Okay.
even more went to Trump the second time around.
Right.
So I don't think that I think some of those white women really believed what they said to them. Like they just took it at face value when they said, we're not going to touch Roe v. Wade, it's settled law. And they actually believed that. And I don't think all of those women that voted for Trump the first or second time around really thought that we were going to be here. But if they were listening to black and brown women, we were telling them that's exactly where we're going.
That's where we come from as well. Like we came from there, you know what I'm saying? And we are headed back in a handbasket, right? Real fast. So I don't know. I don't even know what to say, because I don't really have hope that this nation is going to make it without something coming to a head and something burning down. I just don't. This nation has never changed without bloodshed.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever changed in this country in any way that affected the economy, that affected like big laws, without blood happening in the streets. This nation has a monopoly on violence. You know what I'm saying? And power does not give its own power up without a fight. And in this nation, we got more guns than anybody in the world. There's a fight coming. You know what I'm saying? And I hope it could be a political one. You know what I'm saying? But we lost the Supreme Court for the next 10 years, at least. So what's going to happen in the next 10 years, right? There's a big chance. Like we haven't even held Trump and his cronies accountable yet. And we're how far into it? You know what I'm saying? Like Trump might be president in 2024. We have no idea. And I'm just going to say that now, because there's a big chance that Trump can be president in 2024. What kind of sense does that make? You know what I'm saying? He's grabbing women in their private parts, right? He's doing insurrections, right? He's grifting his people for $250 million after the election for something he knows is a lie. And our country might still elect this man. You know what I'm saying? And we got Fox News like running roughshod over truth. You know what I'm saying? Making billions off of that. And that's okay, right? We have people selling seats to our Congress, and people selling selling pardons and things like that. We got Rudy Giuliani is still a free man. You know what I'm saying? I think the idea of the sanctity of our government and those hollowed halls that we used to think were so hollow, you know what I'm saying, or whatever the conjugation of that is, that's gone. right? That's
Yeah.
gone. Like that we'll never get that kind of sacredness back of our idea of democracy. And black folks ain't never thought that anyway. So all y'all other people, welcome, welcome. We have cake. You know what I'm saying? Like we've been waiting, and that's why I think black women are like that, because I do see white women just freaking out, and I see black women like getting mad at white women freaking out, like, nah, are just like, man, we've been trying to tell you, tried to told you, you know what I'm saying? And oppression for anyone is going to be oppression for everyone,
Everyone. Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
It just will.
Everyone.
They're not excluded.
Yeah.
No, and more
It's
importantly,
always it's just when it's your turn,
yeah,
right?
Right.
right.
That's all it
We
is
have two
when it's
things.
your turn. But everybody gets a turn.
We
Everybody
got
gets a
white
turn.
supremacy and we've got capitalism, right?
Right.
And this capitalism was built off of their white supremacy for us, right? But they got to understand capitalism is a different beast, right? And there's more poor white people than anybody, right? And they take more white women get more
Affirmative action.
affirmative action than anybody, and white people take more of every
Welfare.
kind of government program, and
Yeah.
like everyone, you know what I'm saying? And then they vote against their own interests because they think it's us getting all the things that they're getting, you know what I'm saying? So that's what capitalism has been able to do. They're going to take advantage of everybody, and you know, I'm not a Marxist, but that privileged white man had some smart ideas. You know what I'm saying? That capitalism will eat us all, and
It
it's
would
going to
eat us
do
all.
that.
Yeah.
It's going to do that by blaming us. You know that one meme where they got that one dude who's got 2 cookies on his plate, and you got this rich white man who's got all the cookies, and then this one black dude that has no cookies, and the rich white man with all the cookies says, "Hey, watch out! That man wants your cookies." Right? Yeah, you know, and that's, I think that's the U.S. embodied right there in that one meme. So if people don't start caring about Black lives, we all gone, all of us.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Fahrenheit 451. It's gonna be George Orwell. We already burning books. You know what I'm saying? CRT is gonna make, like they just said, it's cool to pray in school, and I can't wait for our Muslim brothers and sisters to start praying to their kids. Please start singing a prayer in the morning to these white kids. I want to see that, and then maybe, you know, the Supreme Court might say, okay, wait a second, let's separate church and state. Maybe that was a good thing. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I just have no hope. But I do have hope for us to be able to organize in our own communities. I do have hope for us to get out these narratives, to start banging these ancestral drums so these kids start hearing them too. I don't have hope that I can keep all our kids alive, but I do have hope that I can make them proud of who they are, especially culture hip hop.
Ooh,
Absolutely.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
Absolutely. And what would be your message to the hopeful youths?
To the hopeful you.
I
I don't know if I'm the right messenger.
The few of us who still got some hope, Caffrey. What's your message? Don't hope.
No, I would say this: it's not about being hopeful, right? It's about being the most impactful you can. We stand on the
Yeah.
shoulders of Ida B. Wells, Medgar Evers, Marcus Garvey, you know, Phyllis Wheatley. There's so many people who have died and struggled for us to be here. It's not about whether or not I'll get taken out. I'm always worried with the way I show up on LinkedIn. I'm worried somebody's gonna come and try to start a race war with me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking about giving me a vest. You know what I'm saying?
Lord.
But I don't do this work because I think I'm going to win. You know, you don't
Right.
fight a war because you think you're not going to die. You know, you're
Right.
because we got enough forces, so let's fight this. That's not why Medgar Evers kept doing that. That's not why those people went in those buses to Mississippi. That's not any of that. You do it because it's the right thing to do, and that's it. And so every time I talk to a little homie, am I not going to put some knowledge in that? You know what I'm saying? Our people are mentors for free on the weekends. I'm just trying to create jobs and a system to get them paid to do it on the weekdays. And that's just it. It's not because I think we're going to save kids from, you know, crazy police officers that, you know, have this superiority complex and see us all as criminals. I don't think I can stop that. I was beaten up 3 times at gunpoint, twice at gunpoint before I was 17 by the SFPD. And so I don't think I can keep my daughter from experiencing that. But I promise you she's going to know her rights. I promise you she's going to create art about her rights and about women's body sovereignty and all this, because all I can do is teach her justice. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I can protect her from white America. I don't. But I promise you, if she does get killed by the police officers, she's going to give them hell before she does.
Whoa.
Mm.
I mean, it's while inspiring, that is such a sad statement, because for a lot of Black people, that is the reality, that some of our children may not survive police officers. Some of our children may not survive white supremacy in the most violent form. And I was saying to you that this is the thing I think white people don't understand. I think when white people hear white supremacy, they hear themselves, but I'm not talking about you. The system of white supremacy is violent to everybody, and that includes white people. I've had conversations with my white girlfriends over these past 4 days where they are afraid to talk to their family members for fear of violence, not fear of the conversation being shut down, that those family members will be violent to them. So white supremacy doesn't care what color your skin is. It's a violent system.
Yeah.
Right. It works on fear.
Yeah. And you're either with the program or you are lynched.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I live in the Bay Area, and there's so many transplants that come from Arkansas, Kentucky, and you know what I'm saying? I hear these stories, especially from some of my queer friends, that they don't have family anymore. They just don't have. They just don't. And I can't even understand that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand how you can hate your child. I don't care. Like, I just don't get that. But it's real. It's real.
And I think that's the point I want to make and close with. It's really there is no love anymore. There's no love, there's no unity. It's not about the community. It's a very self-centered and hateful mindset. Like, right? Like you said, how could you hate your child? And what is it that's really going on is, how much do you really hate yourself to be able to keep perpetuating all this hate around you?
Yeah. I mean, they say if there's just one accepting parent in a queer kid's life, like they drops their suicide rates by like 50-60%.
Yeah.
Like, I talk to a lot of Black folks about queer communities and whatnot. And I'm like, about trans women and whatnot, there's all these intersections, and when the pandemic started and I was just really advocating for queer people and the vaccination, people started accusing me of working for the CIA and trying to destroy the Black family.
They thought you were part of the conspiracy theory.
Oh, you know it. But
you're part of the agenda.
Yeah.
But I say this, it's like, look, if 83% of trans women were murdered last year were Black, what do you have a problem with first? Do you have a problem with them being themselves, or do you have a problem with 83% of anybody being murdered being Black? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's ask some real questions. Do you want these kids to survive, to be happy, or you just really want to just hold this argument of something that you don't even have to deal with in your life? I think a lot of this stuff is rhetorical for people. And that's why on my LinkedIn, you'll see I put people on blast because I post unapologetic Black stuff, and that's how I'm going viral a little bit now. But I see people just come with hate. It's like, I have to tell people, I don't hate white people. Like, I have to post that a couple times a week. Oh, you're like, you just hate white people. Any white people that disagree with, I just put them on blast. You can go on my LinkedIn now and see a bunch of the posts that I just screenshot. Like, look what I have to deal with, people. Look what I have to deal with, people. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to my white homies and allies who defend me on there too. I appreciate y'all so much. But yeah, I think the problem is that we are so segregated. We're learning about people from mass media representations, from our own fear, from hearsay, you know what I'm saying? Instead of like literally taking the due diligence and the love to actually learn. So one of the things I say to white people mostly is like, you sound like you have never read anything written by a well-respected intellectual Black leader on the subject of race. All the books I read when I was growing up was white people. You know what I'm saying? That's just the school system. Like, we have to deal with white people, but y'all don't have to deal with us. And it's very telling when, I'm writing an article right now. I'm working on the title, but I usually get quotes from MLK from white supremacists online. Like, that really bastardized content of character, not the color of your skin. That one little snippet that they remember.
Man.
Actually, but they never read Letter from a Birmingham Jail. They didn't know that Martin Luther King gave up on that dream and said he was a little bit naive to have that dream.
And it became a nightmare. And he sent his people into a burning house.
Pretty much.
They never go beyond. For me personally, whenever somebody non-Black starts with content of character, it's a red flag for me.
Woo.
Because I understand that the depth of your understanding on race is so limited. Correct. And that you have no ability to learn anything beyond that one statement. And I think it's always a red flag for me. red
Always.
flag immediately.
Yeah. So I mean, I just been reverting to like telling people online, who raised you?
Mm.
Raised you? Like, what's wrong with you? Who hurt you? You know what I'm saying? Why? You saw me post one thing. You saw me post a white people are immigrants shirt, right? You saw me put my "Make Racists Afraid Again" hat on, and all of a sudden that's bad. Like, do you want racists not to be afraid of being racist? You want them to just be cool? Like what? But I get all this hate and all this reflexive hate. And I think that's what this white supremacy does. It's reflexive because I think white supremacists feel attacked. And I also know that the illegal dendral glial cells that myelinate your neural pathways to make them more electrically conducive, those racist neural pathways are so covered in myelin that as soon as they hear MLK, they're like, oh, N-word. Like they just blurt stuff out like, oh, you're racist. Like, and that's just such a facile understanding of race, and it's terrible. I think our country has shied away from intellectual, prowess and just gone into these 15-second, attention span memes and whatnot. We're not reading anymore.
Yeah.
And for sure, white folks are not reading anything from James Baldwin, Audre Lorde, you know what I'm saying? Like we have all these thoughts out here. This is not new. And I got people who have title of construction foreman telling me that they'll school me in any subject in the world, including race and white supremacy, online, calling me racist. And I'm like, wow. You know what I'm saying? So it is a divisive time. I don't know that I'm very hopeful, but I will always put my effort until my last breath, just like Medgar Evers did, because we ain't got no time for nothing else. And some people don't want to have kids nowadays because stuff's so crazy. I argue have more kids because we need to offset these idiots. You know what I'm saying? Like
I posted, what was it, last night, that the amount of women now going in for tubal ligation has skyrocketed. This one OBGYN said on Friday night she woke up to 500 requests. 500 requests of women wanting to get their tubes tied. Like this is where we are. And I don't think when they did this abortion ban, they even factored in that fact that the response was going to be that some women were just going to tie their tubes. And I don't think these women are tying their tubes because they just want to be irresponsible sexually, but because even if they were the most responsible sexually, because pregnancy, even when being responsible, actually happens. Condoms breaks, IUDs don't work, birth control fail. So even when these women are being responsible and the safeguards that they've put in place outside of abstinence, because, God forbid a woman is sexually liberated. Like that's not what we want in our society.
Oh no.
But even when those don't work and they go, you know what, I'm not taking any chance with this government to tell me what I'm going to do with my body. So I'll just make it that my body cannot produce children at all.
Period.
And ironically, a lot of those women, when I went into, it was like 30,000 comments on this post. And I was just like reading, and the majority of those women were white women, because I think those white women, particularly younger white women, understand that this play was about white bodies having white babies. This play was not about black and brown women. They don't care about us having abortion. Let's be honest about that. But this play was about the declining rates of white babies being born in this country. And so because white women ostensibly have more abortions than any other group, you have to stop that. So then you have to stop abortion at its heel. But white women, younger white women, are saying, okay, well, we can play this game too, and we'll just tie our tubes. And there's a lot of white gynecologists before that wouldn't have done that are now doing that.
Yeah. And oh man, that's just going to equal up to another imbalance of all these conscious people not having kids and all these knuckle draggers.
Right.
Absolutely. Having more. That's exactly what it's going to be.
Sorry. It's a shame. I don't know. And if we want to get to a global perspective, I don't know if the U.S. deserves to stand anyway. You know what I'm saying? So let's just keep it 100. I'm a son of the earth. You know what I'm saying? I don't pledge allegiance to the flag. I don't sing the national anthem with this third verse about killing my ancestors. You know what I'm saying? My ancestors built this country, so I feel like it owes me something. But yeah, I think we live in a very evil nation. And I think that evilness has been codified so thoroughly into our laws and our systems that white people have had a past thinking that it's just in their minds. Oh, I'm not racist, therefore this. So there's so many little nicks and cuts. And this latest this latest, like lethal situation we're putting women in. It was just a piece of that, and this is the start. I think it started during the Tea Party when we got the first black president. White people said, "Oh no, oh hold the phone." You know what I'm saying? They got a
Yeah,
black
yeah. I
president.
forgot about the Tea Party. I forgot that.
Oh yeah,
No, I think those people just rebranded, right? They became the
that
Trump Patriots. They went from the Tea Party to the Trump Patriots. You're right. I forgot all about them.
that's it. That was when people started, protesting and saying this is illegitimate, and we started saying he's a Muslim and all this other stuff. That's when Fox News became the Fox News of today. You know what
True,
I'm
true,
saying?
true,
Period.
true, true, true.
The Tea Party changed the right lexicon in the community, and it's never stopped, and it's only getting worse and worse. And now, that's why I have that hat that says "Make Racists Afraid Again." I want them to go back under the rock so we can get back to trying to move this country forward, because racists aren't afraid. They're not. They're telling people how they feel out in the streets. It's just what they're doing. So, I think that's the issue. I think that we are going to hell in a handbasket right now. So I don't know. I don't know how much I can say. I'm not hopeful. I'm just not hopeful. But I am hopeful for us to do what we can within our own communities, within our own spaces, within our own neighborhoods. So
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's where you come in with Hip Hop for Change, so we thank you so much for spreading the word and using your voice and helping other youths use their voice to be able to create their own stories and how they feel. So I really hope all of you enjoyed profoundly this conversation as we reach the top of the Diversity Connects Us hour. I want you to be extremely encouraged and empowered to reach out to Caffrey and Tammy on LinkedIn, as you all heard. Thank you so much for all the information you shared. It was such a pleasure to have you. This podcast always highlights lived experiences and inspirational stories of strength and tenacity. We share profound and courageous dialogues that influence DEI by breaking the barriers and stereotypes, confronting biases, and offering best practices to achieve a more significant cultural mindset. Caffrey and Tammy, it's been such a pleasure to have this amazing conversation with you. We're going to need a part two.
y'all know I'm always down. I'm always.
Caffrey's always down. I just got to
Bye.
like Caffrey. Listen, show up Friday this time, be on camera. And he's like, I'm there, sister. I'm there. I'm there.
I got you. I got you. I got you. Thank you so much, yo.
Thank you, Caffrey. It was awesome.
It was.
Awesome.
Honored.